දවස් 30ක්ම unlimited Netflix බලන්න. unlimited data pack එකක් මුළු පවුලටම unlimited fun එකක් අරගන්න. අදම active කරගන්න.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, rendered helpless, the Presidential Commission hears from the former Defence Secretary that Sirisena's divisive politics was the order of the day, even in the immediate aftermath of the Easter attacks. Smacks of a deal. The Cardinal surprised and disappointed, in turn taken by the CID.
When some of the people whom the CID alleged to have had close connections with these terror leaders, suddenly they have become like saints.
Opposition leader jumps at the chance to call Badiuddin's brother's arrest a political gambit. Unravelled. 7 suspects, including the drug racket leader, busted with over 15 kilograms of heroin. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Saturday, the 3rd of October, 2020.
Nava sunlight sakura. Then dikukal pavatina sakura mal suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammik Ekanayaka. Let's start with your local stories. Now, former Defence Secretary Hemasri Fernando had found himself in a sorry state when then President Maithripala Sirisena called him from abroad and asked him not to attend a meeting chaired by then Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe after news broke that terrorists had struck on Easter Sunday last year. Giving evidence before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the attacks, Fernando said that the former president ruthlessly made him and the IGP culprits in the terror attack during his address to the nation, while washing his hands off in the process. It was former Defence Secretary Hemasri Fernando's 8th day of testifying before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Easter Sunday spate of terror yesterday. Getting the proceedings underway, the state's additional Solicitor General put to the former Defence Secretary that there was a meeting chaired by then Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe after the news broke of the explosions. The witness responded saying that there was a meeting and that the Prime Minister's office informed him that a meeting will be held at 11 a.m. 1 hour in advance. The additional Solicitor General asked the witness whether the former president made a telephone call to the former Defence Secretary from overseas following the attack. Former Defence Secretary Hemasri Fernando responded, quote, "The first person to call me was President Secretary Uday R. Seniviratne. He asked me whether I am aware that a meeting is scheduled to be held at the Prime Minister's office. He said he too got the message and that the President had called him and asked both of us to refrain from attending that meeting. 10 minutes after that call, I received a call from President Maithripala Sirisena. He told me sternly, 'You two are not to attend this meeting under any condition,' unquote." The additional Solicitor General asked the witness whether the former president asked him not to attend the meeting, knowing that there had been bomb explosions. The former Defence Secretary's response to that question was, quote, "He was aware of the bomb explosions by then. I too told him of the chaotic situation," unquote. The additional Solicitor General asked the witness as to what his thoughts were when the President, while being overseas, asked him not to attend the meeting chaired by the Prime Minister. The former Defence Secretary said, quote, "My thoughts were on the sorry state I was in. There had been no delegation of powers to the Prime Minister or anyone else before leaving the country. It was a situation of anarchy. I was intent on attending that meeting, but since I cannot disregard the President's order, I didn't attend it. By this time, I too had convened the IGP, the commanders of the Tri-Forces and the Chief of Defence Staff and all intelligence heads to the Defence Ministry. The Prime Minister came to the meeting unannounced and asked me to continue the meeting and he would wait in my office. I explained the matters discussed at the meeting to the Prime Minister. Removal of bodies was discussed. He was there for about 10 to 15 minutes and left," unquote. The Additional Solicitor General then asked the witness whether the talks on removal of bodies had been necessary had the measures taken on the 21st of April been taken on the 20th when there was warning of an attack the next day. The response of the witness to the question was, quote, "I cannot answer that. They would have achieved their targets had we even imposed police curfew. Zahran was already at the Shangri-La on the 20th. All this information was with the intelligence units. This is why 200 suspects connected to this were arrested within 2 weeks of the attack. I'm not saying this to wash my hands off of responsibility. Once the bombers strap the bombs on, there's nothing that can be done. They have to be stopped before the bombs are strapped on," unquote. The Additional Solicitor General then asked the witness, quote, "Do you know that the Kingsbury attacker Mubarak had gone home and returned on the night of the 20th? On that night, Zahran and Ilham left the hotel and returned. Had police curfew been imposed, wouldn't checks have been conducted at roadblocks, so they could have been arrested easily, isn't it?" unquote. The witness responded saying that he doesn't know whether they would have been arrested easily, but an arrest nonetheless could have been made. The Commission's chairman then asked the witness whether it was for sale that Zahran and others made bombs in Vanathavilluwa. The response from the former Defence Secretary was no. Later, President's Counsel Anil De Silva, representing former President Maithripala Sirisena, asked the witness as to why he claimed that the former President's address to the nation is an indictment. Former Defence Secretary Hemisri Fernando responded, quote, "He made the most violent statement possible by a head of state. The Establishment Code contains the measures to be taken in the event of an error made by the Secretary. Instead of doing that, the Ministerial Secretary and the Department Head were made culprits. I must especially mention that President Maithripala Sirisena had a dream of becoming president for a second time. He was prepared for that, but the Easter attacks became a black mark. 2 political sacrifices had to be made for that. Pujit and I were ruthlessly made culprits in this, and he washed his hands off," unquote. Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit today expressed his dismay and disappointment over the actions of the Criminal Investigation Department pertaining to the Easter Sunday massacre. Speaking in the backdrop where former Minister Rishad Badiuddin's brother, who faced various allegations of aiding and abetting Easter attackers, being released yesterday, the Cardinal said that the very suspects accused by the CID have now become saints. Riyaj Badiuddin was released with the CID saying that there is insufficient evidence to prove the allegations against the suspect.
I would like to make a clarification with regard to some of the actions that have been noticed in the last few days, especially with regard to those who have been released from custody by the CID, those whose actions were investigated with allegations of cooperation and collaboration with the terror group of Sahran Hashim, who conducted the bomb attack way back in April 2019. I would like to express my feelings of surprise and also sadness at what has happened recently when some of the people whom the CID alleged to have had close connections with these terror leaders and business ventures involving them together, suddenly they have become like saints and they have been released. This kind of action is completely contrary to the promises that were given to us by the rulers. And also, this kind of action smacks of a political deal with these people. Therefore, I wish to express my sorrow and sadness and my complete refusal to accept this kind of activity on the part of the CID, their investigation. And I feel that it is being reduced in intensity as time goes. I have heard from within the CID also complaints that the attention given to this investigation has gone down lately. And it is in that light that on behalf of all those who died and the families and all those who were injured, both people from here and abroad, I like to express my horror at what is happening, and I would like to appeal to all people of goodwill to show their displeasure about this to the authorities. And also I would like to appeal to my Catholic people, including parliamentarians, to consider this as a bad choice and something which is against the dignity and the rights of our people.
Enjoy a very smooth shave with the Bic Easy 2 razor. Bic Easy 2.
Leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa meanwhile is of the view that the accusations levelled against the brother of former Minister Rishad Badudin only serve to achieve political agendas. Speaking to media after calling at the Pothuwatavana temple in Dankotuwa today, Premadasa called the entire affair a work of fiction befitting a teledrama.
පහුගිය මහමැතිවරණ සමයේ කතා කරේ පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරය ගැන. පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරය පිළිබඳව අලුත් ටෙලිඩ්‍රාමා ප්‍රවෘත්ති නිර්මාණය කරා. නමුත් අද පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරයට සම්බන්ධ වුණු ඒවා සැලසුම් කරපු ඒ කණ්ඩායම් වලට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? අපේ යෝජනාව තමයි අවංකවම ත්‍රස්තවාදී ක්‍රියාවක් සිදු කරපු සියලුම දෙනාට නීතිය හමුවට ගෙන ඇවිල්ලා මරණීය දඬුවම ලබා දෙන්නට ඕන. නමුත් පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරය එදා පාවිච්චි කරා තමන්ගේ දේශපාලන අරමුණු ඉෂ්ට කරගන්න. අපි හැමෝම දන්නවා රිෂාඩ් බදෝදීන් ඇමතිතුමාගේ සහෝදරයා ඍජුවම සම්බන්ධයි කිව්ව මේ පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරයට. දැන් කියනවා ඒවා පිළිබඳව කිසිම සාක්ෂියක් නැහැලු. ඔක්කොම කරේ රටේ ජනතාව මුලා කරන්න. ඒ පුද්ගලයාගෙත් ඒ ඇමතිවරයාගෙත් චරිතය ඝාතනය කරලා ඒ අයව පාවිච්චි කරා තමන්ගේ දේශපාලන අරමුණු ඉෂ්ට කරගන්න.
Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira made submissions before the Supreme Court late yesterday when the petitions challenging the draft bill of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution were taken up for a third day. During the proceedings, the Attorney General countered the submissions made by the petitioners, who said that the opportunity to file fundamental rights petitions against actions taken by the President in official capacity, facilitated by the 19th Amendment, is being scrapped by the 20th Amendment draft bill. He told the court that the President was first given immunity from prosecution via the present Constitution, which was passed in 1978, and that immunity was enjoyed by many presidents until 2015. He added that the people's sovereignty is enacted via the three institutions of the executive, the legislature and the judiciary, and that slashing powers of one institution or transference of powers of one institution to another cannot be done. The Attorney General also pointed out that some of the articles included in the 20th Amendment were also contained in the 18th Amendment, and that the Supreme Court itself deemed at the time that those articles can be passed in Parliament with a 2/3 majority without a referendum. The petitions challenging the 20th Amendment to the Constitution will be taken up again on Monday before a 5-member Supreme Court bench. Minister of Foreign Relations Dinesh Gunawardena says that the national policy framework of the government has prioritised gender equality, empowerment of women and minimisation of gender-based violence. Delivering a virtual address at the high-level meeting on the 25th anniversary of the 4th World Conference on Women, the minister lauded the Sri Lankan women, saying that they play a significant role in every sphere.
Historically, Sri Lanka has demonstrated its commitment and political will to promote gender equality and the empowerment of women, being cognizant of their invaluable contribution to the social, economic development of the country. It is very encouraging to note that the women in Sri Lanka, comprising more than half of our population, have achieved social development indicators such as literacy, social inclusion, and life expectancy, which are on par with developed countries. I am very proud to acknowledge the achievements of women in my country, who play a significant role in every sphere. Women represent half of the working population in the country and excel in higher education. Their contribution to the national economy is very significant. Women represent 34.5% of the labor force, while 39% of expatriate workforce consists of women. The government headed by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa is committed to the sustainable development goals, among which the 5th goal is to achieve gender equality and empower all women. The government will facilitate and ensure contribution of Sri Lanka women to the betterment of our society as an equal player in an environment where women will make their own decisions and will be free to reach their aspirations and will not be subject to any violence or discrimination.
We will see you shortly. Bear with us. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the Police Narcotic Bureau today apprehended 7 suspects along with over 15 kilograms of heroin in their possession. The leader of the heroin racket is also among the arrested. Now, with that, let's take a look at the latest on Sri Lanka's war on drugs and the underworld.
The Police Narcotic Bureau arrested a 37-year-old man from the area of Kabella Vitigama in Dankotuwa at around 10:15 am yesterday with 360 grams of heroin in his possession. The information revealed by the suspect under interrogation led to the arrest of 3 youths aged 23, 24 and 27 for drug racketeering and abetting racketeering in the areas of Dankotuwa, Yogiyana, Mutamulla, Sigiri Janapadaya, Sri Saranapala Mawatha in Kobegane and Karamwatta. Officers of the Police Narcotic Bureau also seized the car of the 23-year-old. The trio's statements led to the arrest of 2 more suspects while being in possession of 2.23 kilograms of heroin. They were apprehended at the Botalegama junction in Sirigampala of Dankotuwa last night while riding a motorbike. Both suspects are residents of Lunuvilla aged 30 and 35. Under interrogations, the 2 suspects have revealed the leader of the relevant drug trafficking network. Accordingly, the so-called leader of the drug racket was arrested at around 7:55 last night while residing at a house in the area of Burulugodalla in Kirimatiyana East, Dunuvilla. A search of the suspect's house led the police to 13.45 more kilograms of heroin. After being produced before the Maravilla Magistrates Court today, the suspects were ordered to be detained for a week for questioning. Meanwhile, based on the 2-week investigation conducted by the Modara District Intelligence Unit of the State Intelligence Service, a suspect was arrested with 504 grams of heroin and 289,000 rupees in cash obtained by drug peddling. He was arrested near the railway station of Vanavasala while travelling in a 3-wheeler. The 3-wheeler and its driver were also taken into custody. Police said that the main suspect had operated the drug racket upon instructions of organised criminal Kalu Sagara, who is currently in Dubai. The Modara District Intelligence Unit further stated that this network has led to the identification of the drug network operating in the Western Province. Meanwhile, just over 320 grams of heroin was found by the Western Provincial Anti-Corruption Unit of the Colombo Crime Division today, hidden in a 3-wheeler near the Mihindu Setpura apartment complex in Dematagoda. The owner of the 3-wheeler was taken into custody by the police. It was revealed that the network is run by an inmate of the Colombo Magazine prison and the man arrested to be one of his close associates named Mani Ravindra. In another development, the Meegoda police arrested 22-year-old Ashan Madhusankar alias Tilak Bada, who is said to be an accomplice of Navy Ruwan, a notorious criminal wanted with regard to a number of crimes, including murder. Madhusankar was arrested while travelling in a car this morning. When searching the car, police found 50 grams of a narcotic called Mandy inside a lady's handbag, as well as 20 grams of heroin hidden inside a pair of slippers. Police also seized 6 rounds of ammunition along with a magazine of a firearm from the suspect's possession, which is said to have been in possession of Navy Ruwan. Police had accompanied the suspect to a 2-story house in the area of Niandagala in Homagama in search of the firearm. In the process, the suspect had jumped off from one of the floors in an attempt to flee. Sustaining severe injuries, the suspect is currently receiving treatment at the Homagama Base Hospital under police protection. In addition, a 26-year-old who is said to be the paramour of the suspect was also arrested by the Meegoda police this morning. The Katana police in the meantime obtained a 2-day detention order for the suspects arrested in connection with the recent robbery in Katana after they were produced before court. Police said that interrogations led to 1.1 million rupees in the area of Moragoda in Gampaha, 2.1 million rupees in Kurunagala, as well as 2.8 million rupees and 18 grams of gold buried in a plot of land in the area of Nikavarattiya. Operations are underway to arrest the rest of the suspects in the heist after 4 were nabbed yesterday. Meanwhile, new footage of the suspects making their escape was released to media today.
Now, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa paid floral tribute to the statue of Mahatma Gandhi at Temple Trees yesterday on the occasion of the 151st birth anniversary of the freedom fighter. Known as the father of the nation by Indians, Mahatma Gandhi was the driving force behind the independence of India from foreign domination and establishment of India as a nation. Gandhi also led nationwide campaigns to ease poverty, expand women's rights, build religious and ethnic amity, end untouchability and increase economic self-reliance. Acting High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka Vinod K. Jacob and State Minister of Money, Capital Market and State Enterprise Reforms Ajit Niwat Kabra were also present during the occasion. Now, Sri Lanka has repaid a $1 billion sovereign bond due this week. The central bank said that this settlement reconfirms the government's unwavering commitment to honour its foreign liabilities, thereby bolstering investor confidence and dispelling any concerns foreign investors may have in relation to the government's ability and willingness to maintain its unblemished debt servicing record. It added that the domestic foreign exchange market has already reacted positively to this settlement and other recent positive developments in the Sri Lankan economy. The central bank also notes that with the envisaged inflows to the domestic foreign exchange market, supported by proactive measures taken by the government and the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the market sentiment is expected to further strengthen in the period ahead. Oil prices extended losses to about 3% yesterday after US President Donald Trump said he has tested positive for COVID-19, while agreements on the US stimulus package eluded negotiators amid ongoing worries about demand. Brent crude slipped on the Trump news and was down $1.12 at $39.81 a barrel. US oil was also down 2.9% at $37.60. US and Brent crude are heading for drops of around 5% and 6% respectively this week for a second consecutive week of declines. Meanwhile, US stocks fell in volatile trading yesterday, also after the US president's coronavirus diagnosis fueled concerns about the election and a worsening pandemic. Major averages clawed back some of the steep losses after our House Speaker Nancy Pelosi signaled aid for the airline industry to be coming soon. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed 0.5% lower at 27,682.81 after dropping 430 points at its session low. The S&P 500 slid 32.36 points to 3,248.44 after falling as much as 1.7% earlier. The Nasdaq Composite declined 251.49 points to 11,075.02. We'll see you shortly. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, India today saw its number of COVID-19 fatalities surge past the 100,000 mark, becoming the third country in the world to have surpassed the unwanted milestone. In the US, meanwhile, President Donald Trump was flown to a military medical facility in Maryland for treatment after he was diagnosed with COVID-19. Reports say that Trump is being treated with an experimental drug cocktail.
President of the United States Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump was diagnosed with COVID-19 yesterday. The announcement comes just over a month before the presidential election on the 3rd of November, where he faces Democratic challenger Joe Biden. President Trump has been treated with an experimental drug cocktail injection and the antiviral medication Remdesivir after he was flown to the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Maryland for treatment. In the meantime, India's death toll from the novel coronavirus rose past 100,000 today, which makes it only the third country in the world to reach the grisly milestone behind the United States and Brazil. The health ministry said that the total deaths have risen to 100,842, while the tally of infections climbed to 6.47 million after a daily increase of 79,476 cases. Health experts say that India could see a jump in infections as the country heads into the holiday season, with the Hindu festival Diwali coming up in the next month.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.